Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something real simple. What did you do with the last 5 minutes of your life? Not yesterday, not last year, right now, because time isn't loud. It doesn't knock on the door. It slips by quietly, and before you know it, what you had planned becomes what you wish you had done. You see, we pray for opportunity, but God answers with time. We pray for growth, for healing, for purpose, and we're given the same 24 hours as everyone else. The difference isn't what we're given. The difference is what we do with it. Time is the one gift heaven gives us that we can never return, never replace, and never rewind. Once it's spent, it's gone. Some of us are waiting for the perfect moment, but faith doesn't wait for perfection. It moves with intention. Every second you're breathing is proof that your story isn't finished. Every moment is a chance to get back up, to forgive, to work harder, to love deeper, to believe bigger. Time is not your enemy, wasted time is. Understand this, your calling is not someday. Your purpose is not later. The clock is not working against you. It's working for you, reminding you that today still counts. God didn't wake you up by accident. You were given this moment on purpose, for a purpose. So don't just let time pass, honor it. Respect it, invest it, because when you finally understand the value of time, you stop procrastinating on the life you were meant to live, and you start walking boldly into the future that's been waiting on your faith to catch up. Time is a divine gift, not a guarantee. That truth alone should shift the way we breathe, think, and move through every single day. Time is not owed to us. We wake up assuming tomorrow is waiting, assuming next year is promised, assuming there will always be another chance to fix it, say it, try again, or become better. But assumption is not faith, and comfort is not wisdom. Every moment we are given is an act of grace, not a contract signed by life. The fact that your heart is beating right now is not random. It is not luck. It is mercy. Time is the currency heaven places in our hands every morning, and the receipt is due whether we spend it well or waste it carelessly. No one knows how much time they have, only that they are holding some right now. That uncertainty is not meant to scare us. It's meant to sharpen us. It's meant to wake us up from living on autopilot and push us into living on purpose. When you understand that time is divine, you stop treating it casually. You stop handing it to distractions that don't feed your spirit. You stop lending it to people and habits that drain your calling. You begin to see that every hour is sacred ground, every day an assignment, every season a test of stewardship. God doesn't ask what you wished you had done with your time. He asks what you did with what you were given. Time doesn't come back with apologies. It doesn't explain itself. It doesn't slow down because you're afraid, tired, or unprepared. It keeps moving, faithful to its mission, while we decide whether we'll move with it or be dragged by it. That's why waiting for the right time can become a spiritual trap. The right time is often the moment you're in, the one you're overlooking because it doesn't look impressive enough. A divine gift carries responsibility. If time were guaranteed, urgency would disappear, passion would fade, purpose would be postponed. But because time is fragile, it carries weight. Because it can be taken, it must be treasured. Because it is limited, it must be intentional. That pressure is not punishment, it's privilege. It's the push that turns potential into action and faith into movement. So many people are alive but not living, breathing but not building, present but not engaged. They're waiting on a future that may never knock, ignoring the present that's already calling. Time was never meant to be survived. It was meant to be invested. Every minute can be planted into growth, discipline, service, love, and obedience, or buried under fear and delay. When you truly believe time is a gift from God, gratitude changes your posture. You walk differently. You speak differently. You forgive quicker. You work harder. You dream with more courage because you know the clock is not your enemy, but it is honest. It tells the truth, even when we don't want to hear it. It reminds us that purpose delayed can become purpose denied, not because God withdrew it, but because we never stepped into it. Time being unguaranteed doesn't mean life is fragile. It means life is valuable. It means every opportunity matters. Every lesson counts. Every moment carries meaning. You don't need more time. You need more awareness of the time you already have. What you value determines how you spend your time, whether you admit it or not. Time never lies. Your calendar, your habits, your routines, they testify every day to what truly matters to you. Not what you say matters, not what you post about, not what you promise yourself late at night. What you consistently give your time to is what you honor, protect, and prioritize. We all have the same 24 hours, but we don't all build the same lives. The difference isn't talent or opportunity, it's value systems. Time flows naturally toward what the heart esteems. If comfort is the priority, time will bend toward ease. If growth is the priority, time will stretch toward discipline. If faith is the priority, time will be carved out for prayer, reflection, and obedience, even when it's inconvenient. People often say they don't have time, but that's rarely the truth. Time is always found for what we deem important. We find time to scroll, time to worry, time to entertain distractions that don't move us forward. That means the issue isn't time management, it's value alignment. When values are unclear, time gets scattered. When values are strong, time becomes focused. What you value also shapes your patience. You're willing to wait for what matters. You're willing to sacrifice for what you believe in. You're willing to endure discomfort when the reward aligns with your purpose. That's why someone will spend years building a skill, nurturing a relationship, or chasing a vision without complaint, yet feel exhausted after an hour spent on something they don't value. Time feels heavier when the heart isn't invested. Faith reveals itself here. If God is truly valued, time reflects that relationship. Faith isn't proven by words spoken on a weekend. It's revealed in daily choices. Time spent in silence, in service, in obedience, when no one is watching shows what the soul is anchored to. Where your time goes, your trust follows. Where your time goes, your hope is planted. Values also determine what you say no to. Every yes costs time, and every no protects it. People who don't know what they value say yes to everything and wonder why they're drained. People who know what they value guard their time fiercely because they understand its worth. They don't apologize for protecting what feeds their purpose. Time will always test your values. It will ask you to choose between urgent and important, between easy and meaningful, between temporary pleasure and lasting impact. Those moments define direction. One decision won't change everything, but repeated decisions in the same direction will shape your destiny. Time compounds what you value most. If you value growth, you'll give time to learning even when progress feels slow. If you value healing, you'll give time to reflection and forgiveness even when it's painful. If you value legacy, you'll give time to building something that outlives applause. Time obeys values the way water follows gravity. When values are misplaced, time becomes regret. When values are aligned, time becomes purpose. You don't need to chase motivation. You need to clarify what matters. Once values are clear, time follows naturally. You stop forcing discipline and start living with intention. You stop wondering where your time went and start directing where it goes. Every day, time asks one honest question: what matters most to you right now? Discipline turns minutes into miracles because consistency gives power to what looks insignificant at first glance. Most people are waiting for a breakthrough without respecting the process that creates it. They want the result but resist the routine. They want the reward but reject the repetition. Discipline is the bridge between intention and transformation, and it is built 1 minute at a time. A single minute doesn't look impressive. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't feel life-changing. But discipline understands what emotion overlooks. It knows that small actions done faithfully carry divine potential. The miracle is rarely in the moment itself. It's in the accumulation. What you practice daily eventually becomes what you produce naturally. Discipline doesn't rely on motivation because motivation is unpredictable. Discipline shows up when energy is low, when excuses are loud, when progress feels invisible. It says, do it anyway. Pray anyway. Study anyway. Train anyway. Serve anyway. Those minutes stack quietly, unnoticed by the world, but fully seen by God. Faith and discipline are not opposites, they are partners. Faith believes God can do anything. Discipline prepares you to receive it. Faith opens the door, but discipline keeps you in the room. Miracles don't always fall from the sky. Sometimes they rise from habits formed in silence. Minutes become miracles when they are guided by intention. A focused 10 minutes of prayer can realign a confused mind. A disciplined hour of learning each day can rewrite a future. A daily commitment to integrity can restore trust that took years to lose. Discipline gives direction to time so time doesn't drift into waste. People often underestimate discipline because it doesn't feel dramatic. There's no applause for waking up early, staying consistent, or saying no to distractions. But discipline is not about recognition, it's about results. It builds strength before anyone notices. It shapes character before opportunity arrives. When the moment comes, discipline has already done the work. The difference between regret and growth is often discipline. Regret says, I wish I had started earlier. Discipline says, start now and stay with it. Growth doesn't rush, it compounds. What feels slow today becomes strength tomorrow. What feels tedious today becomes testimony later. Discipline also trains obedience. It teaches you to honor commitments even when emotions change. That matters because purpose is bigger than feelings. Calling requires consistency. Discipline keeps you aligned when passion fluctuates. It anchors you when life becomes chaotic. Every miracle has a backstory of discipline. Behind every sudden success is a series of unseen sacrifices. Behind every strong faith is a habit of daily surrender. Behind every powerful voice is time spent listening, learning, and refining. Discipline is the unseen force that turns preparation into power. Minutes matter because they are the building blocks of days. Days shape years. Years shape destiny. Discipline gives structure to those minutes so they don't slip through your hands. You don't need more time. You need more discipline with the time you have. When discipline becomes a lifestyle, progress becomes inevitable. You stop waiting for perfect conditions and start moving with what you have. You stop chasing shortcuts and start trusting the process. Discipline doesn't make life easier, it makes it effective. It turns ordinary time into extraordinary outcomes. Procrastination is the silent thief of purpose because it doesn't announce itself as danger, it disguises itself as delay, as preparation, as waiting for the right mood or the right moment. It speaks softly, telling you there's still time, that tomorrow will be better, that you'll be more ready later. By the time you realize what it has taken, the opportunity has already moved on. Purpose requires movement, and procrastination feeds on stillness. It convinces you to pause when you should be progressing. It turns calling into contemplation and vision into wishful thinking. Nothing dies all at once. It fades through postponement. Dreams don't disappear overnight. They erode slowly each time action is delayed. Procrastination is especially dangerous because it feels harmless. You're not quitting, you're not saying no. You're just not saying yes yet. That hesitation seems small, but repeated hesitation becomes habit. Habit becomes identity. And eventually, delay becomes a way of life. Fear often sits at the root of procrastination. Fear of failure, fear of success, fear of being seen, fear of not being enough. Instead of confronting fear, procrastination offers escape. It provides comfort without progress. But comfort is expensive when it costs you your assignment. Time doesn't pause because you're unsure. Life keeps moving while you stand still, and purpose requires alignment with movement. The longer you wait, the heavier the first step feels. Momentum doesn't disappear, but it does become harder to reclaim. What once felt exciting begins to feel intimidating. Procrastination also erodes faith. Faith calls for action even when clarity is incomplete. Delay says wait until everything makes sense. But obedience rarely comes with full explanation. Many breakthroughs are hidden on the other side of imperfect steps taken in trust. The danger isn't just lost opportunity, it's diminished belief. Each delay trains the mind to doubt its own ability to act. Confidence weakens when action is avoided. Purpose thrives on courage, and courage grows through movement, not contemplation. Procrastination steals more than time. It steals identity. It keeps you rehearsing what you could be instead of becoming who you are called to be. It traps you in potential instead of progress. Potential feels good because it promises greatness without requiring sacrifice, but purpose demands execution. Even spiritually, procrastination whispers lies. It says you'll pray later, forgive later, serve later, change later. But later is not guaranteed. Obedience delayed can become obedience denied, not because the opportunity is taken away, but because the heart grows comfortable in delay. Purpose is time sensitive. There are seasons that require action now. Missed seasons don't always return in the same form. The door may open again, but the cost of entry is often higher. Delay rarely makes obedience easier. It usually makes it heavier. The quiet tragedy of procrastination is regret. Regret doesn't come from failure. It comes from never trying, from watching time pass while intention stays trapped in the mind. From knowing you were capable but never committed. Breaking procrastination begins with one step. Not the perfect step, not the full plan, just movement. Action disrupts fear. Motion restores confidence. When you move, clarity follows. Purpose responds to obedience, not hesitation. Faith demands action in the present moment because belief without movement is only intention. Faith was never meant to live in theory or remain locked in words, spoken when it feels safe. Faith shows itself when a decision has to be made before all the answers arrive. It moves while uncertainty is still in the room. Many people confuse faith with waiting, but faith is not passive. Faith listens, then steps. It hears the calling and responds with obedience, not delay. The present moment is where faith proves itself, because now is the only place action can exist. Yesterday is memory. Tomorrow is hope. Now is responsibility. Faith that stays in the future becomes fantasy. Faith that stays in the past becomes nostalgia. Living faith operates in the present, where fear and courage collide. The challenge is that the present rarely feels ideal. Circumstances are messy. Resources feel limited. Confidence wavers. But faith does not require perfect conditions. It requires trust. Action in the present moment is uncomfortable because it exposes belief to risk. Saying you trust God feels easy until trust requires movement. Faith steps forward without guarantees, believing provision will meet obedience. It understands that clarity often comes after commitment, not before. When faith delays action, doubt gains space to grow. Doubt feeds on inactivity. The longer you wait, the louder uncertainty becomes. Action interrupts that cycle. It quiets doubt by aligning belief with behavior. Faith strengthens when it is exercised, just like muscle. The present moment is sacred because it is where God's instruction meets human response. You don't obey God tomorrow, you obey Him now. You don't forgive later, you forgive now. You don't serve someday, you serve now. Delayed obedience may feel responsible, but it often masks fear. Faith also requires discernment, not impulsiveness, but discernment does not mean paralysis. There is a difference between waiting for direction and waiting to feel ready. Readiness is often the reward of obedience, not the prerequisite. Action in the present moment builds momentum. One step creates the courage for the next. Faith grows through repetition. Each act of obedience reinforces trust. Each decision made in alignment with belief deepens spiritual confidence. Faith without action becomes frustration. You believe, but nothing changes. You pray, but nothing moves. Action is the agreement between heaven and earth. It is how belief becomes visible. Many blessings are attached to steps you haven't taken yet. Many answers are waiting on movement. The present moment is not small. It is the doorway to progress. Faith honors time by acting when the opportunity is given. It doesn't postpone obedience until conditions improve. It understands that delay can dull sensitivity to direction. The longer you hesitate, the easier it becomes to ignore the call. Acting in the present moment doesn't mean rushing. It means responding. It means choosing obedience over comfort. It means trusting that God is already in the step you're afraid to take. Faith lives in motion. It walks while praying. It works while believing. It obeys while hoping. The present moment is where faith becomes real. Every second invested shapes your legacy, because legacy is not built in grand moments, but in daily decisions. People often think legacy is something you leave behind at the end of life, but in truth, It is something you live into every single day. Legacy is being written quietly, second by second, through the choices you make when no one is watching. Seconds feel small, almost invisible, yet they carry more weight than we realize. A kind word spoken in a brief moment can alter the direction of a relationship. A disciplined decision made in a quiet second can redirect an entire future. What seems insignificant in the moment becomes significant over time, because time multiplies whatever you invest into it. Legacy is not accidental. It is the accumulated result of how you spend your time, your energy, and your attention. Every second invested in integrity strengthens the foundation of who you are. Every second invested in bitterness weakens it. Time does not judge the quality of your choices. It simply records them and returns the results later. The seconds you invest reveal what you stand for. They show whether you value growth or comfort, service or self-interest, obedience or convenience. You may not see the impact immediately, but impact is always forming. Seeds planted in seconds grow into habits. Habits shape character. Character defines legacy. Legacy is also relational. The moments you choose to be present with people matter. Listening when it's easier to scroll, encouraging when it's easier to criticize, forgiving when it's easier to withdraw. Those seconds become memories that outlast accomplishments. Long after titles fade, people remember how you made them feel in the time you shared. Spiritually, every second invested in faith deepens alignment. Prayer doesn't need hours to matter. Sincerity matters more than length. A moment of surrender can realign a heart. A second of obedience can unlock direction. God often works in the ordinary moments we're tempted to overlook. Time invested in growth compounds quietly. Reading a few pages daily, practicing a skill briefly but consistently, choosing discipline in small moments, all of it adds up. What looks like slow progress becomes lasting change. Legacy favors consistency over intensity. Neglect works the same way. Seconds wasted don't disappear. They accumulate too. Indifference compounds just like discipline does. That's why legacy is shaped, whether you're intentional or not. Time never stops recording. Legacy is not about perfection. It's about direction. A life pointed toward purpose, even imperfectly, leaves a mark that outlives mistakes. Investing seconds wisely doesn't mean never failing. It means returning to alignment quickly. The way you treat time teaches others how to treat their own. Children, colleagues, and communities learn from your example. They see what you prioritize, what you protect, what you rush toward, and what you neglect. Your seconds become instruction. Every second invested is a vote for the future you're building. Over time, those votes add up. Legacy is simply the outcome of those repeated investments. You don't wake up one day with a legacy. You grow into it moment by moment. Consistency over time produces transformation, because change is rarely the result of a single decision, but the outcome of repeated commitment. People often look for turning points, not realizing that most turning points are formed quietly through patterns. What you do once may inspire you, but what you do consistently reshapes you. Consistency is not glamorous. It doesn't draw attention or create immediate excitement. It asks you to show up when progress feels invisible and results seem distant. Transformation happens in those moments of faithfulness, when effort continues without applause. Time gives consistency its power. One good choice won't redefine a life, but thousands of aligned choices will. Just as water shapes stone through persistence rather than force, consistency reshapes character through repetition. The smallest actions, when repeated, gain influence over identity. Many people confuse intensity with effectiveness. They start strong, fueled by emotion, then fade when motivation runs out. Consistency does not depend on feeling inspired. It depends on commitment. It remains steady through highs and lows, building stability where emotions fluctuate. Transformation requires patience because growth unfolds gradually. Consistency trains patience by keeping you engaged with the process. It teaches you to trust what is developing beneath the surface. Roots grow before fruit appears. Spiritually, consistency deepens faith. A daily practice of prayer, reflection, or obedience builds trust over time. Faith grows stronger through regular engagement, not occasional bursts. Consistency creates space for alignment and clarity. Consistency also reshapes mindset. Repeated effort rewires belief. When you show up again and again, confidence replaces doubt. Discipline becomes identity. What once felt difficult becomes natural. Relationships are transformed through consistency. Trust is built through repeated presence, honesty, and care. One apology doesn't heal a wound, but consistent integrity does. Love is proven through patterns, not promises. Consistency protects progress. It keeps you moving forward even when setbacks occur. Missing a day doesn't end transformation, but quitting does. Consistency allows room for imperfection while maintaining direction. Time magnifies consistency. What feels ordinary today becomes extraordinary over years. Skills sharpen, character solidifies, purpose clarifies. Transformation is not rushed. It is revealed. Consistency is a form of faith. It believes that effort invested today will matter tomorrow. It works without immediate reward, trusting the process. Over time, consistency changes not only what you do, but who you become. The repeated choices shape habits. Habits shape character. Character shapes destiny. Consistency is the quiet force behind lasting transformation. Honor time by living with intention and purpose, because time responds to direction. Without intention, time drifts. With purpose, time becomes focused. Life is not shaped by how busy you are, but by how deliberate you are with the moments you are given. When intention is absent, days blur together. When purpose is present, even ordinary moments carry meaning. Living with intention means deciding in advance what matters most. It is choosing direction before distraction shows up. Time will always be pulled by urgency, noise, and demands, but intention anchors it to what aligns with your values. Purpose gives time a destination instead of letting it wander. Many people mistake activity for productivity. They fill their schedules yet feel unfulfilled. Intention filters activity. It asks why before how. It aligns action with calling. Purpose does not require perfection, but it does require clarity. Intentional living demands awareness. It asks you to pay attention to how your time is spent and how it shapes you. Time invested without awareness can quietly work against you. Time invested with purpose works for you, even when progress feels slow. Purpose gives meaning to sacrifice. When you know why you are doing something, endurance becomes possible. Intention transforms effort into investment. Spiritually, honoring time means recognizing it as stewardship. Each moment is entrusted, not owned. Purpose aligns time with obedience. Living intentionally honors the gift by using it in alignment with what matters eternally. Purpose also simplifies decisions. When you know your direction, distractions lose their power. You don't have to say yes to everything. Intention gives you the courage to say no without guilt. Living with intention creates alignment between belief and behavior. Purpose removes contradiction. Time begins to reflect faith, values, and priorities. Intentional living does not eliminate challenges, but it provides clarity in the midst of them. When life becomes chaotic, purpose keeps you grounded. Honoring time means being present. It means engaging fully with what you're doing instead of rushing through moments. Presence deepens connection and awareness. Purpose is not always loud. Sometimes it's expressed through small, faithful actions repeated daily. Intention gives weight to those actions. Time honors those who honor it. When lived with intention, time becomes a tool for growth rather than a source of regret. Purpose doesn't rush, but it does move forward.